My name is Adam, and I am the cigar expert, but the whiskey noob.
My name is Chris, and I am the whiskey expert, but a cigar noob.
And you're listening to the Perfect Pairing podcast.
And today we are finding the perfect pairing for this Artista Midnight box pressed cigar.
But before we get into that, we got to get into the trivia question of the week. This week, the question is, what are the three types of pairings according to Luciano Morales? So make sure you stay tuned. At the end of the video, we're going to make sure that we reveal that for you guys and explain the whole process.
I think it'll be a learning moment for me as well. So I'm excited to get there.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing up though. As Chris was saying, it's a box press cigar. It's a beautiful cigar. It's not too big, right? I think it's about a 5 by 54, which is not a large cigar for those whiskey noobs, Chris. I mean cigar noobs, not whiskey
Yeah.
noobs. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut. I like to do a V cut on my box press cigars. It's not often that people do it, but that's what I'm gonna go with today. It's kind of like my style.
Now, do you do the V long ways or vertically?
Long ways, I would think this is. So like
Okay.
if you're looking at the face, I do it across the side.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Good
see
to
that. There
know.
you go. But this is an interesting cigar because I I've probably had this cigar less than 5 times in my life, which is why I wanted to have it for our first ever podcast because I wanted to make sure that I didn't go in knowing like, all right, I know it's gonna happen. I got the cigar. I know these whiskeys. Like this is gonna be easy. I wanted it to be a learning event with everybody, and including you.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I'm really excited to see how it goes with these whiskeys because when I was looking up the notes, I haven't had this before. So I had to do some research before I came up with
Hmm.
these pairings. And it seems like it's mostly medium bodied. It's got some earthy notes to it, some things like that. So the pairings I've got picked out, one of them's kind of earthy, but it's kind of light. The other one's more on the spice, but it's pretty heavy. And then we got one kind of right in the middle. So I'm really excited to see how that interacts with the flavor of the cigar.
It will be very interesting as well. From what I remember in the times that I've smoked this cigar too, is it if you're new to cigars, there's usually the first, second, and third.
Hmm.
So there's the first third, second third, and final third is what they call it. So
Yeah.
and it kind of goes through a changing process because of the combustion, the burning, and all that, and how it was rolled sometimes. And this one specifically, I feel like in the middle, it gets that peppery. So if that's the middle one, I think that's going to be very interesting.
Oh, that will be interesting. All right. So to get into this first pairing that
Yep.
we do have, we're going with Monkey Shoulder. Now, this is a blended scotch. So we got one scotch and two bourbons today. And the reason I picked Monkey Shoulder is as far as scotch goes, it's not peated, so it's not super smoky, but it does have this kind of earthy, almost funkiness to it,
Hmm.
but it will be the lightest of the three that we're going to drink. So it's got that little bit of earthiness, a little bit of a funk, but then it's got some citrus, some honey, some nice light flavors. I'm interested to see how it balances out with the so far kind of cocoa earthiness of the cigar, which is a little different from the Monkey Shoulder.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm excited for it. I think this cigar is definitely it does start off heavy. It's starting off with a little oomph. So starting off with some monkey shoulders, I could see how this is going to be good. So
Definitely.
all right, well, I think I'm going to let you dive in first because I want to see your reaction.
Yeah, I should preface this that I know Monkey Shoulder and the taste of Monkey Shoulder like the back of my hand. So I'm excited to see how this cigar changes it. Monkey Shoulder was one of the first bottles I ever bought and actually enjoyed. So
Wow.
let me get a puff and a taste here.
So unlike me, you decided to go the easy way. You just pick something that you know and you can talk about. I get it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yep.
far, this
It's a
cigar.
go-to for me.
That's fair. That's fair.
And if
No,
we
I
like it, the folks listening can get it pretty cheap. It's like 34 bucks. So I'm like, can't beat it.
that's nice. Very, very nice. I think the Artista Midnight, obviously, a lot of times it depends on the state you're in. But the Artista Midnight is not a super expensive cigar. I think it's middle of the run, somewhere between like 12 and 14 bucks. So it's not too bad.
Definitely. Ooh.
What you
It
getting?
definitely so the whiskey brought out a bit more of the pepper from the Artista.
Okay.
The first sip of the whiskey, I felt like I was getting less of the funk and more of the honey and the orange. I'm interested to see what you pull out of that.
Honey and orange, man. Your palate might be a little bit more refined than mine. We're gonna see. All right.
That's fine. Well, as far as cigar goes, at least for these first few episodes, you're gonna hear a lot of pepper, spice, wood, maybe some leather and some cocoa if I'm feeling ballsy with the notes that I'm pulling out.
Fair enough. That is very interesting. I always go cigar pairing back to the cigar because cigar is my base, right?
Right.
That's what I know. But going from cigar to the monkey shoulder, that it was interesting because I almost feel like the cigar didn't have too much of an effect on the monkey shoulders. But I'm gonna go back here.
It's not dramatic,
Mm-mm.
but especially the more that I'm going back and forth here, the cigar is turning into more of the dark chocolate and the whiskey is turning more into the white chocolate. Like they're kind of becoming yin and yang for me here.
Yeah, going back to that cigar, that was a dramatic difference for me, at least. When I went back to the cigar did not taste near the same. That
Definitely.
that was a little mind blowing, and I hate to admit it, and I'm not gonna go fully with you. It wasn't an orange, but I did get some orange peel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was
I like
weird,
it.
but
Yeah. I think that's the good the good part of this is you're gonna be really good at telling how the cigars change, and I'm gonna be hopefully pretty good at telling how the whiskeys change. So
mhm.
people are gonna get both sides of it, I think.
It's gonna be an enjoyable ride to see both of our journeys as we go. Yeah, I totally get that.
Right.
Like, go through the
Right.
process, but that's why we're doing it. If you're a cigar noob or a whiskey noob, this is the podcast for you because you're gonna be able to enjoy it. And on the whole other spectrum, if you're a whiskey expert or a cigar expert, we're gonna be able to talk your game too. It just depends on who's talking.
Exactly. And that's the best way to learn is to hear what somebody who hopefully knows what they're talking about is saying. And
Mhm.
then you can say, "Oh, okay, that thing they're calling orange peel, I wasn't catching it, but now I can see as like a citrus."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm still not seeing any change in this monkey shoulder.
It's not changing nearly as much as the cigar is changing. That's for sure. I
Yeah.
my first sip, it didn't it monkey shoulder usually has this kind of weird earthy funk to it, and I'm still not really getting it, but it kind of lost that funk and it just stayed the same since then. I haven't really had much change.
Yeah, no. It's staying on that level. I'm gonna
Mhm.
be. It's very interesting. I'm gonna be interested as we go through this to see the midnight because I'm trying to explain how it changed because it was only on flavor. I feel like the body still feels medium full. It's feeling like on the higher end still. It's not like it brought it to a level where man, this cigar feels like it's just gonna knock me out, or the other way where this cigar just seemed like crazy easy to smoke because that can happen in
Mhm.
pairings. Sometimes you can take a very light cigar, toss the right pairing with it, and all of a sudden that cigar feels like it's gonna knock you over. But
Right.
this one's a good test. This one's a good test for the cigar expert this time.
Right. Right. Once we bring out that Four Roses small batch, I'm interested to see that one might have some influence because it's a bigger player. I think it'll have a bit more influence.
Mhm. I will say, not to give away the whole trivia question at the end, but I'm going to give you one piece. Here's a hint. Maybe you'll be able to understand what it is and put the pieces together through this one hint. But this pairing specifically, one of them is staying the same. I mean, like the monkey shoulder seems to be kind of staying the same for the most part, but the other one is dramatically changing. The cigar is dramatically changing in its flavor. So that is a type of pairing. One staying the same, one changing. What is that called? It's one of the three. You'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. I think you're spot on though. That monkey shoulder, even as I go back to it, I decided to sit and puff on the cigar a few times, really get my palate
Mhm.
with it, and it's holding steady. Here's what I'm impressed by with the monkey shoulder. It's not really losing its flavor either. This is a mellow, low body whiskey. It doesn't jump out of the glass at you, but I thought it might get steamrolled by the cigar. It's still there. You can still taste it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Which, yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. Like, it is not a super ultra powerful whiskey. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. I think 43% ABV, so it's not like it's
Really?
super high octane. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is a little surprising that it's not getting affected by a medium to full bodied cigar. Because on occasion, it can definitely, like I was saying, the whiskey can overpower a small cigar or whatever. It can
Mhm.
definitely go the other way. Like, if you're having a Bud Light with your heavy cigar, you're not going to taste much of that Bud Light for sure.
Right, exactly. Hmm,
Well, I'm going to leave a little sip on mine just in case I want to go back to it here at the end. So
good
I
call.
think if you're good, I'm ready to go on to number two.
Alright, let's do this thing. I'm gonna use the same glass here and give it a quick rinse. Here's a
I
little
got
bonus tip for you guys. If you, what do you got there?
nothing.
Little bonus if you don't wanna go through glasses too quick. I only do this sometimes, but if you just rinse your glass out with water and then give it a little spritz of whatever it is you're gonna drink. Now you gotta sacrifice like a quarter ounce, give it about a quarter ounce, swirl it in the glass and dump it out. It pretty much gets rid of any of whatever was in your glass beforehand.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the best
I
way
don't
that
know.
I've
I
seen
have
you
a
do it.
really small bottle of larceny, so I don't think I can waste any of it.
Yeah. Is that a
Uh,
liter?
it's about the size of my head,
Or is
so
that a 175?
1.75.
I didn't even notice when it was behind you because, like, the perspective of it,
Yeah,
it
it was
looked
all
like a
the way back
normal bottle.
Yeah, no, this is a big bottle of larceny for sure.
I like it.
So I'm not wasting any of this. I'm not doing whatever Chris said because I brought fresh glasses.
Ah, good call. Good
No
call.
waste. No waste here. Ooh, look at that.
I've
Gotta do
been
that again.
burning through Glencairns on these. I was doing some tastings yesterday, and so I'm like, I'm running low.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
Even though in my house, Glencairns are like spiders. You're like never more than 6 feet away from one. They're on every horizontal surface.
Yeah, I'd say cigars are about on the same level in this household. I don't know if my wife's happy about that or not, but it's just true.
Yep.
I mean, they're
All
not all
right.
like burning at the same time.
Well, that's what's important, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited. So the Larceny small batch. So the thought process here, this is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. The thought process is this is a wheated bourbon. So there's wheat in the recipe, which gives it the important part of that is it gives it this sweetness. Whereas the Four Roses we're going to go to has more rye, which is going to give it more spice. So suspect those two are going to react very differently to the pairing.
Ooh, and now I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
All right. You diving in first?
Sure, yeah. I just
All
went
right.
for the Larceny first.
Here
Now
we
I'll
go.
dive into the cigar here.
Really enjoying this cigar. I agree with your chocolate notes that you were getting to earlier, though. I think it definitely has a heavy chocolate note, more of almost more of like a cocoa, which I know is almost the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely it's just like heavier chocolate. I don't know, hard to describe. All right, so what you
The
getting?
the Larceny totally changed on that first sip.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm going in.
Yeah, dive in. I'm trying to figure out what it is. It does not taste. All right, I need to go again. This is
Hmm. Ooh, whoa! Wait a second. What is that? I don't know.
Mhm.
What's happening? Okay. Yep. I know why you went back now because there's no way you gotta go. You gotta dive
Yeah, it's
further.
strange. I do think it lowered the body of the larceny a little bit,
Mhm.
so it's not quite as powerful. But there's
Very
a
easy to drink.
it's kinda like it goes from, like, a dark woodiness, like a charred, dusty wood, and it became, like, lighter, like, more closer to, like, a sandalwood, like a light pepper in the larceny. Usually for larceny, I'm not getting those type of notes.
Yeah. I again, because I'm the whiskey noob, I cannot speak to that, but I can tell you the wood notes that are clearly, since you're saying it, are in this larceny,
Mhm.
are definitely all over this cigar now. Like, I'm
Totally.
getting this beautiful, like, dark cedar type flavor that is just amazing. Like that, I well, I'm not gonna reveal my full opinion yet, but I think this one is making this cigar taste good. I gotta see. I gotta keep going back to this larceny to see what it's really doing there, though.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta do the same. I gotta try the larceny a bit more. I was gonna say the exact same thing about the cigar, though. It brings out the
Really,
woodiness of it big time.
yeah, I'm
It
really
reminds me a
enjoying this
little
cigar.
bit. Good. Yeah, yeah, me too. This is right in my wheelhouse. I told you before, like I like CAO Brasilia. I like the
Mm,
chocolatey but still sweet, not overly peppery. That's exactly what this is for me
mhm,
right now.
100%.
But it reminds me a lot. Once upon a time I built my own wine ador. So I took an old wine cooler and I made wood shelves for it and everything.
Nice.
And I was using red cedar because I couldn't afford Spanish cedar, obviously. And but when I was cutting the red cedar, I mean, the whole garage started to smell like a slightly charred red cedar because I was cutting so much of it, and that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Huh? Look at that. See, and that's a great example. Small little tip for those of you out here who are like, I'm a cigar noob and a whiskey noob, and I'm not getting any of these orange peel stupid flavors that you're talking about, or this wood. When's the last time you ate wood? I don't understand what you're saying. If you're on that level, it's about just the experiences, like Chris just said. Whatever you've gone through, you've noticed things in your head, and when you do pairings, it's all about your memories, just like what you brought up. So that was a great example.
Definitely, thanks. Yeah, you bring up a great point that it's the hardest part about it. And I think a lot of people have trouble with this. The hardest part with pulling any tasting notes, cigars and whiskey, is not thinking of anything, but letting it guide you to what it's reminding you of. It's
Yep.
so easy to get, okay, is this chocolate? No. Is this spice? No. But you got to just say, what knee jerk reaction? What does this remind me of? And when I puffed that cigar, I was like, I'm cutting wood in the garage right now. Like that's what it took me to. And you got to
Yeah.
try to do that.
And it's crazy. I used to work for a lounge, a cigar lounge out here in
Mhm.
Atlanta, and I would help them do. They would highlight a pairing. They had a real like huge whiskey, tequila, rum, all the vodka selection, and they did a pairing every Thursday, and they let me choose. And what I would literally do is they would gear it off a cigar they want to sell, right? They want
Mhm.
to sell that cigar more, and I would take that cigar, and I knew most of the time the cigar because I'm not a cigar noob. I'm a whiskey noob, right? So
Yeah.
I would know that cigar, and then literally I would go around, I would just uncork the bottle real quick, and I would smell it and put the cork back, and I would go, nope, there's no recollection there. And then once I had some sort of weird recollection, like you had, like, oh wait, that does remind me of the cigar. Then I would go back and be like, here it is. This reminds me of the cigar because I know the memory of smoking that cigar.
Exactly. That is the best way to go about pulling any type of a flavor note. And I know, I mean, I've worked with a lot of people, obviously. I work with my patrons on this, people in my comment section, and that's the hardest part to get the hang of.
It is.
So if you can get the hang of it, it really helps with your tastings.
Yeah, 100%.
I think
Hmm.
I've got this larceny figured out.
You do have it figured out.
I think so. So
I, go ahead. Maybe you can educate me.
yeah,
I'm
because
trying
here's
to
what I'm
figure out the larceny. I got the cigar.
right, right. I think so. I had to puff on the cigar a lot for this, but I puffed on it a lot and went back to the larceny. And then it kinda got I've never got this from Larceny before. Almost like a red fruit, like a dark like a red apple maybe, or almost a berry flavor, and I have never gotten that from Larceny before. I will say it cut back the body of the Larceny a little bit. It's a little bit more almost watery, if you will, but, uh but a weird sweet flavor that I've never pulled from Larceny before.
This is crazy because and maybe it's because I'm a whiskey noob. I was getting something I think that is different, and you can tell me if it's going in a different direction.
That's
I was
fine.
getting like fresh pepper, not like just like straight, just peppery, like fresh ground pepper.
No, yeah, I think you're spot on. It did bring out more of
Okay,
a peppery
okay,
note,
that's
for
fair.
sure.
If
That,
I'm an idiot, then that's good.
no. No, 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 no. Definitely. Especially and here's another thing, that's an important note for, the guys who are newer to whiskey who are listening, is because it dulled that body a little bit of the Larceny, you might notice more of your harsher notes like a pepper, or some people, it might turn into, like, straight charred wood
Mm.
because with less body, the notes that have more pop are the ones that you notice first. So whereas I might just kind of look past that, I didn't really think about it. This is
Wow.
why it's important to have both of us on here.
Yeah,
You notice that, you know?
yeah, and I wasn't conscious of it. I was just thinking about it while you were talking. The second third of this cigar is supposed to be a little peppery. So I think maybe that's pulling it even further. Again, my taste buds are like cigar first. Yours are
Right.
whiskey first. And maybe that's what's going on is my taste buds are like, I know what's going on here and I'm gonna try and pull it out of there. And maybe that's happening.
Definitely. That'll happen. That's the thing about pairings that I hope we discover more about with the podcast as we go on, because so far it's a mystery to everybody I've talked to, is sometimes the woodiness of the cigar pulls out the woodiness of the whiskey. Sometimes the woodiness of the cigar overpowers the woodiness of the whiskey, and you don't really notice it anymore in the whiskey. And it's like
Yeah.
unpredictable. It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, and it's 100. You're 100% right. That's why, we decided to do this together because pairings is such a just people just are like, yeah, cigars and whiskey, right? All
Mhm.
of them go together. Like that's the common knowledge, and nobody's talking about the intricacies. And actually, this cigar should go with that whiskey because if you did it with that whiskey, it's not going to work. And if you did that whiskey with this cigar, it definitely is not going to work. Like it's just a people just assume like yeah cigars coffee cigars whiskey and cigars scotch and you're fine
Mhm.
right? Like it's definitely a myth that for everybody out there when we may do a trivia question what's the biggest myth about pairings it's probably that all cigars go with all whiskey. um,
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm gonna note just a quick note here for the cigar noobs out there.
Mhm.
If you can see, I'm gonna make sure. I know it's a little blown out here, but you can see I've got a little bit of not a 45-degree angle, but a little angle here on my ash going on, right? Heat rises. Everybody knows that. That's why I'm holding the cigar this way. That will automatically even out your ash and your burn line, which is important. A good burn line is always very important. So if you hold the heat rising, it's going to burn that top end faster. So that's why I've been holding it like this for probably, I don't know, the past like whole pairing. So there you go. Little
Good to
tip for you.
know. That shows how much of a cigar noob I am, is that I always just grab the lighter and go at it. I didn't even think about that. That
Now,
makes it
if
a little
you,
easier.
I'm just going to provide a bunch of value here. If you want to touch up your cigar, right? If I was going to touch it up, which is fine, there's no problem with that. What
Mhm.
people typically do when they start to see a run, this is not like a bad run. Like you're talking a canoe is what it's called in the cigar world, or a run, but it goes all the way down one side and not the other.
Mhm.
People will just like roast the crap out of the sides. Not, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there. So,
Yep.
yep. But what happens is when you roast the shnikes out of one side, it starts to burn faster than the other side.
Mhm.
And then you burn the shnikes out of the one side. And you go back and forth the whole experience. You're like, man, that was super relaxing. I was just burning a bonfire the whole time. Like, I do love cigars. No, I don't.
That sounds like the average cigar experience for me lately.
Yeah, like it's a thing. And
Mhm.
that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this, just like me learning about the whiskeys. So what you want to do is you really just want to lightly toast it. And if you don't even see any like orange or flame or anything, you're probably doing it right. So you
Okay.
can see the difference here, right? I'm gonna make sure I got it. Yeah, it's nice and clear there. So typically what I'll do is I'll hold it the opposite way of as I've been, the long side on the bottom, and I'll heat up. You can see a little bit of smoke coming out of there. And then right when you see any, there was like a little flame there and a little orange that popped up. I don't know if it can show through. Stop.
Okay.
That it is hot now. So it's gonna even out. Cigars, most premium cigars, which by the way, all the cigar of the weeks, cigars of the week, whatever that we choose, they're gonna be ultra premium like these. They are rolled. I'm just dumping stuff on you now. I apologize, but
Oh,
it's
I dig it.
rolled in a way that's called estrajado, and it's like an accordion. And the reason why they fold the filler of the cigar like an accordion is it automatically corrects itself as you're smoking if there's a
Okay.
small run.
Good to
And you
know.
can see, look at this already evening out. And I didn't burn the crap out of it, so it's not going to go on one side.
Right.
All right,
No, that's
putting
awesome.
off my teacher box here.
No, yeah, that's good to know. I can't tell you how many times I've had a canoe on one side corrected, and then it's a canoe on the other side, and like you said, I literally do that for the rest of the cigar.
Yeah. And you're like, that was a great experience. I just had such a relaxing time.
That was so peaceful. I spent $10 in butane tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So we're here for you guys out there. We're here for you guys.
Now, when we're talking first third, second third, final third, a little bit more beginner information for me here.
Yep.
Are you including the nub part of it in the final third, like the part that you're gonna end up throwing away? Or you go to like the band, or how are we doing that?
Yes. So yeah, I'll keep dumping. A common
I like it.
question is how far should you? Should is the key word. Should you smoke a cigar? Well, one, there is no should. Just for everybody out there, there is no rule of thumb. Smoke that thing till you're done. I don't care what that looks like. I mean, I've literally, if you go on my page, you've seen me. There's people out there, I don't do it, but if you just are absolutely loving that cigar, you can stick your cigar in a pipe, shove it down there, smoke it down to like half an inch. No, I mean, like, I'm talking like maybe even like 3 centimeters, like
No
nothing.
kidding.
Yeah, and you can smoke it through the pipe. Like, you can smoke as far as you want.
I've never thought of that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and we'll do it. We'll smoke. I've actually smoked a whole cigar through a pipe once. It was the weirdest thing I ever did.
I bet. Did
I
it
was like, okay, because I like pipes. I do enjoy pipes. I think they're a
Mhm.
lot of work. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever smoked a pipe?
Yeah, they're a little bit of maintenance for me.
Lot, lot of maintenance. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why people are always like, "Why don't you do pipe reviews?" Because I'm like, I'm lazy. I
Yep.
don't know what to tell you.
Yep, I get
But I
that.
do
Why don't
like
you
it.
try every whiskey with some water and some ice and stuff? I like to just pour it out of the bottle. It's easier.
I'm thirsty and I'm gonna drink it. That's why.
Yep.
But yeah, so there is no rule as far as like first third, second third, final third. It's really kind of there's going to be a transitional period in every cigar, and it's going to be a little different depending on how you smoke. So it's not an exact science. Like I wouldn't just like cut it and say you're going to get different things. It's really like if you smoke fast, those thirds you may not even reach the final third, or you may smoke so fast that you skip or you have like a really short second third.
Mhm.
So it's kind of up in the air really, but it's a rule of thumb is what I'd call it.
Mhm.
It's not a law of cigars. It's not something where you're gonna after the band is always the final third and blah blah blah, and like you have to smoke it until your fingers are burning, and that's when you only understand the final third, like how it
Right.
is. So
Gotcha.
it's really just a general thought. Like right now, I'd say we're halfway. Well, me, I don't know where you are, um, but yeah, I'm a little further than you. I do smoke a little faster than most people, which is what it is. But that's why I do a V cut. If you want to know why, I'm gonna reveal that in another episode because I am not gonna reveal all my secrets on the first episode.
Hey,
But
you can't reveal it all.
um, but yeah, that's the simple answer. Is it's kind of here or there. There's no exact rule, um, but smoke as far as you want. Have fun.
Okay.
You
I
spent
like
your hard-earned money on this thing, man. Do whatever you want with it.
Yep. I
If you want
have
to smoke half of it, go ahead.
one time I've done the, toothpick. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I have once because I was like, "I don't want this cigar to ever end."
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that's when you go ahead and try and see if they have a larger size of that.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna smoke that for about an hour and a half now.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right,
Alright. I poured up our last pairing here.
solid. I'm
So,
behind.
we've got 4 roses, small batch select. So, there is a small batch and a small batch select, and the bottles look very similar. So, for those listening, this is the small batch select. This is 52% alcohol by volume, so it's a little higher. And that's one of the reasons I'm interested to see how it interacts with the cigar here. That and the fact that this has a lot more of a rye spiciness to it. Oh, I mean, on the nose, way brighter, way more pop, way more body. We're gonna have medium to full body versus medium to full body. We'll see what happens.
Ooh, if I can get my stupid tape off my sample. I don't know who sent me this.
Yeah, who's taping them things up?
Must be a tape noob.
hmm I think this is. Ooh, I guess yeah. I guess see what happens with the cigar first. But as far as the whiskey goes,
Very
this
fair.
might be my favorite so far.
Here we go.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I'm
excited.
interested to see what you say about the cigar here.
All right, I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna go ahead.
hmm
Say less.
The whiskey is holding its own for sure because it's that high rye.
Oh yeah.
It's got a pop to it. It's got some spice, a candy-ish, fruity-ish note to it. A little bit less of a dust and a wood than the Larceny had.
Yeah, that's good on that cigar for sure.
Yeah.
I think what has happened is finally we found a pairing that is matching what may have been intended, what Artista intended the body to be, like, and maybe even a little bit more. And it's just elevating that cigar. Like it's
Mhm.
the cigar is not backing down. It's like, you want to play that game? Oh, we can play that game. And it is beautiful.
Exactly. That's what I was worried about with the Four Roses because I took a sip of the Four Roses and I'm like, oh, that's got body to it. And I was like, is the cigar gonna just totally get wiped out? It didn't. It didn't at all.
No, it's standing up to it for sure. Doing a little ash correction, but you guys can see pretty even.
Yeah. I especially find that difficult with box presses too.
Yeah, happens.
hmm
All right. I'm intrigued to see if this Four Roses is going to change an ounce, though. Like, I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's got a pretty firm backbone to it, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
The cigar, though, I don't know if it's just because this is what I prefer. I really like those like chocolatey notes, but I feel like I'm getting more of that like you said, the second third really brought out that spice. and I think because the Four Roses is so spicy, I'm really getting the chocolate of the cigar on with this pairing.
I'm feeling the same thing. Gosh,
Mhm.
that's beautiful. That that is good.
I think this is on track to be my favorite, probably.
It's it's interesting because again, and it's crazy to say, and that's why I left a little sip of all of them so far.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go back to the monkey shoulder next because that's what I'm very interested in to see. Did this cigar change any of the whiskeys? I think it did change the larceny. I think it made it smoother, really easy to drink. Like if you're a cigar guy and for whatever reason you're not a whiskey guy yet, like you just haven't found your palate on a certain whiskey, if you have this Artista with that larceny, I think you're gonna be like, oh, this isn't, harsh on whatever my throat or like all that stuff. I think it's gonna be really smooth and easy to transition you into the whiskey world.
Yes, I would say the opposite for the Four Roses. If you're newer
Yep.
to cigars, especially the fuller bodied ones, and they're a bit too much for you, but you can drink Four Roses small batch select like it's nothing because you've been drinking whiskey for a while. It smoothed it out and made it like a nice, like milk chocolate flavor for me.
Ooh, that is good. Can we just like pause and like cancel and just be like, oh, this is
Yeah. Let's just have 30 seconds of dead air while we enjoy it.
good?
Yeah.
For those of you that aren't watching on Rumble or YouTube, we are enjoying ourselves and we're just
Yes,
relaxing.
for sure.
Yep. But here's a great example. I noticed there was a little burn issue going on, so I did a few touches. I'm sure even on the audio you heard that.
Mhm.
Um, but you can see now. Look at this burn line,
Oh, yeah.
literally almost straight. And I didn't just roast the shnikes out of one attempt.
Right.
It was
I
just
tried to be a little bit more tame with mine. I think it worked out that time. I tried to take your tip there.
there you go.
It's a little
Look at
better
that.
this time.
Beautiful. Absolutely. That is an even burn all the way across. And Artista, if if it would have been rolled incorrectly, we'd be just lost. Like
Right.
it's nearly unsalvageable if it's rolled incorrectly. But Artista is a great brand. They roll them well. They are actually they own, I think potentially, I know they're at least like top 3 or 5 largest cigar farms in Nicaragua. Like
Wow.
it's freaking huge. I don't know the logistics on it. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes, but I mean, they know tobacco like the back of their hand. They've been doing it for years and years. I think it's third generation owned now.
It shows. I've had obviously the cheap cigars before. I've done that on more than one occasion.
Everybody has. I
And
have.
I've had some trouble before.
Yeah,
That
and
or it's
it's
like you're
not fun.
drinking the thickest milkshake in the world. You're like, you can't
Yep,
get any smoke through it.
yep. That's the draw for those of you out there that are cigar noobs. It's called the draw. How easy is it to draw the smoke out?
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter about the smoke production. I know a lot of people care about that because people like making rings and vapes creates this whole cloud, and you're like, why am I not getting a cloud? It's like because it's a cigar, not a vape.
Right.
But like that's what Chris is talking about is the draw. And yeah, you use the exact analogy as that I always say is if a bad draw, you know it because it's like drinking a milkshake out of the smallest straw that you could imagine.
Mhm.
And you're just like just neck muscles and your back are sore the next day because you're just yeah, it's terrible.
Mhm.
All right. Well, it's about ranking time.
I think so. I'm gonna have real trouble. I know my number one. Those listening probably do too. I'm gonna have real trouble with the other two. Those both were good for different reasons.
All right. I think I understand the Four Roses. I'm going back to Monkey Shoulder real quick.
Yeah. Hmm. I'm gonna just think through this out loud for those listening while you're taking your sips here.
There you go.
So, the thing I like about the monkey shoulder was that it was so different from the cigar. I really liked that it was like you're getting your yin and your yang. They're pretty different. The thing that I liked about the larceny, it seemed to retain a little more of the body, but also bourbons just have that deeper sweetness to them. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Mm. Mhm. Alright, I got mine. You got yours?
Okay. I think so. Yep.
Alright, so I'll go first.
Sure.
I'm gonna go bottom to top.
Okay.
Number 3 is monkey shoulder for me.
Okay.
Number 3 for me, the reason is I agree on the yin and the yang, um, but I feel like there just wasn't enough going on. Like,
Mhm.
I think all of the pairings near well, actually, no, 2 of them were we're about to reveal the, trivia question of the week. I think 2 of them were antagonistic and 1 of them was complimentary.
Okay.
Um, and I think the monkey shoulder was too antagonistic for me. The cigar changed, but not enough to be a fun thing. When one changes and one doesn't, I want the one that changes to be, oh wow. And I just don't think I had that with the monkey shoulder. Number 2, I'm going the Four Roses small batch. And the reason for that is because I mean the cigar tasted just absolutely phenomenal. But the Four Roses, I mean, it was a brick wall. It was
Mhm.
like, cool. The cigar kept running into it, and then the Four Roses was like, and like, come on, like
Yeah.
you that's all you got. Like the cigar
Right.
is like, I'm out. I'm out. That you just yeah, yeah. So larceny is number 1 for me. I think it was the closest thing we had to a complementary pairing where both flavors are escalated, elevated, and change in a very beautiful way. So that's my top 3 today.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna be a little different from you, so I'm gonna stick with the monkey shoulder in 3. Uh, Great whiskey. I just don't think this was the cigar for it.
Exactly.
For the same reasons as you.
Yeah.
Just it kind of steamrolled the cigar kind of steamrolled a little bit. It didn't change the cigar enough. I'm gonna have larceny at number 2 because I loved that it brought out that weird flavor of the larceny for me. It was like this weird kind of berry apple flavor that I hadn't gotten from larceny before. But
Hmm.
I didn't like that it made it a little bit too watery for me. It cut back the cigar overpowered the larceny a little bit. And then I'm gonna have Four Roses at the top because as I mentioned, it smoothed out that cigar nicely for me. I was like, this has a nice
Yeah.
cocoa touch of leather flavor to it. I really enjoyed that. And the Four Roses, once again, like you said, elevated. It kind of just popped and it had the full force of the flavor. So for me, that was my favorite.
Yeah, I'd have to say it was tough. The top 2 were tough for
Hmm.
me. That taste that the Four Roses small batch gave to the cigar was absolutely ridiculous.
Hmm.
I think maybe it comes down to, and we'll reveal this now. What, which type of pairing are you most geared towards? What do you enjoy? So, here's the trivia question of the week. Here's the answer. What are the 3 types of pairings that Luciano Morales coined? It is the complementary pairing, where both flavors are escalated, whether it's a cigar and a whiskey, cigar and a wine, cigar and a steak, steak and wine, whatever it is, both flavored flavors, geez, are escalated. Then the second one is antagonistic. One does not change at all, right? Like I was talking about the Four Roses, it was
Hmm.
holding strong, but the cigar changed. One changed,
Hmm.
one didn't. The third and final one, which we didn't find today, is the ultra pairing. The ultra pairing is where both flavors, both pairings combined, create something that you could never get out of one of them by itself. Like the cigar
Hmm.
by itself, the whiskey by itself, they could have never given you that flavor note. but together they give you this. You're like, where did that come from? And those are
Mhm.
rare. I've found probably like three in my life so far, and I'm excited. I feel like we'll find some as we go along the journey, but those are the three: complementary, antagonistic, and ultra. And I want to make a quick note: antagonistic is not a negative thing. You can enjoy an antagonistic pairing. Antagonist sounds like negative because in high school we all learned that the antagonist is the bad guy, but we don't remember that the superhero is the antagonist to the villain.
Oh, that's a
So,
great way to put that.
yeah, not my words. Thank Luciano.
Yep. And I think that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense because as you mentioned, the Four Roses, it didn't change very much. For me, it made it pop a touch more, but I like Four Roses Small Batch Select. So I was like, this is tasting like a whiskey that I really like. And it
Yeah,
made the cigar change so much that I'm like, I love this. So it's like you said, it really is it's a matter of preference at that point
100%.
as to which type you like more with this pairing.
100%. Well, Chris, I think we accomplished what we wanted to in this first episode. It was really fun going through it. I think this is going to be a super fun dynamic in terms of my cigar knowledge, your whiskey knowledge. This was really fun, man.
Absolutely. If the audience didn't learn anything, I learned a ton. So that's what's important,
Yeah. This isn't for you guys listening. This is for me and Chris to just hang out and learn from each other.
right? Right.
Well, guys, make sure that you subscribe first and foremost to the Perfect Pairing podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in to episode one. We're going to only perfect this thing and have more things that go on. If you're curious what cigars we're smoking every single week, it's the cigar of the week that you can get in the Perfect Pairing Club. If you join the Perfect Pairing Club, right now you're going to be able to experience 4 different cigars each month. It's a monthly subscription. You can go to shopdreamercigars.com. You can sign up. It's only $29.99 and it may even be cheaper. I may have a deal going on. We do all sorts of things because we really want to help you guys learn. And the only way to learn is to experience new things. That's why we have 3 different whiskey pairings. And we're going to have a different cigar each week that we're pairing them with. And they may not even be always whiskey pairings, by the way. But we're going to do so many fun things with it. So we appreciate you guys tuning into episode one. It was a fantastic time, Chris. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.